When a man loses his wife, the world stops making sense for a while. Days blur. Nights feel endless. And the heart, it forgets how to trust. That's how it was for Daniel Harper, a widowed rancher raising his 7-year-old daughter, Emma, on a quiet stretch of land in Wyoming. He had learned to take care of horses, cattle, fences, and storms, but nothing prepared him for the storm of grief. And nothing prepared him for the unexpected moment when his daughter whispered, "Dad, the nanny keeps staring at you." That simple sentence would lead him to a truth he didn't see coming. Before we jump into this story about love, healing, and extraordinary kindness, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. Your support means everything to us here at Kindness World, where we share stories that warm the heart and restore faith in humanity. Daniel hired a nanny only because he had no choice. The ranch demanded his full strength, and Emma needed more than rushed bedtime stories and tired hugs. Her nanny, Grace, had arrived from a nearby town with soft brown eyes, gentle hands, and a calm voice that could quiet even the most restless child. She was in her late 20s, kind but reserved, the type of person who blended into a home like she'd always belonged there. Daniel appreciated her work, but kept his heart guarded. Grace would sit with Emma during homework, braid her hair before school, and sing softly while cooking breakfast. She was patient, careful, and always respectful. Too respectful, Daniel thought. She never overstepped, never asked personal questions, never made things complicated. She always stayed in her lane. Or so he believed. One chilly autumn evening, as the wind whistled against the windows and the smell of wood smoke filled the kitchen, Daniel stood by the counter fixing dinner. Grace was helping Emma with her art project at the table. When Daniel glanced their way, he caught Grace looking at him. Not just looking, studying him, almost as if she were searching his face for something. The moment their eyes met, she quickly looked back at the construction paper in front of her. He ignored it. Or tried to. But then it happened again the next morning, and again during lunch the next day. Always brief, always quiet, always followed by her pretending she wasn't staring at him at all. Daniel brushed it off as curiosity. Maybe pity. People pitied widowers, he got used to that. But Emma noticed. One afternoon, when Daniel picked her up from school, Emma climbed into the truck, buckled up, and said, "Dad, the nanny keeps staring at you." She said it casually, swinging her feet. To her, it wasn't a big deal. To Daniel, it was like someone tapped a window he thought was sealed shut. He didn't answer right away. What could he say? Well, he murmured finally, "Maybe she's just thinking." Emma shrugged. "Maybe she likes you. That's what people do when they like someone." Then she turned on the radio like she hadn't just dropped a small earthquake into the truck. That night, Daniel found himself watching Grace a little more closely. Not in a suspicious way, but with a curiosity he hadn't allowed himself in years. She wasn't flirty. She wasn't acting strange. She was just kind. And somehow, that kindness reached deeper than he expected. A week later, a cold front moved in, bringing snow early in the season. The ranch was busy, and Daniel came home late, covered in frost, stiff from the cold. He pushed the door open quietly so he wouldn't wake Emma. But instead of silence, he heard Grace's soft voice from the living room. She was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, waiting up. "You should have called," she said gently. "I would have saved you some dinner." Her kindness hit him harder than the cold wind outside. She didn't have to wait up. She didn't have to care. But she did. Daniel cleared his throat. "You didn't need to stay awake." "I know," Grace replied, looking at him with those steady eyes. "But sometimes people need someone to stay awake for them." That sentence stayed with him long after she went to bed. Days turned into weeks. Grace became more woven into their lives than Daniel realized. She taught Emma how to bake cinnamon rolls, helped fix loose fence boards when no one asked, and even stayed late when Daniel had to handle emergencies on the ranch. She moved through their home with gentleness, but also with quiet strength. A kind of strength Daniel hadn't felt from anyone since his wife passed. One evening, after Emma fell asleep, Daniel found Grace in the barn feeding the horses. Snowflakes drifted through the open door, settling on her shoulders. She didn't see him at first. She simply stroked the mare's neck, whispering soft words that sounded like comfort. "That horse trusts you," Daniel said from behind her. Grace turned, startled but smiling. "Animals can feel when someone's hurting," she said. "They listen differently." Daniel stepped closer. "Have I been that obvious?" Grace looked at him, really looked at him. "Only to someone who knows what heartbreak feels like." Those words opened a door Daniel didn't expect. He asked quietly, "Is that why you stare?" Grace froze for a moment, then let out a small breath. "I wasn't staring. Not really. I was just trying to understand how someone could lose so much and still be so gentle." Daniel felt a tightness in his chest. "Gentle? I don't feel gentle." "You are with Emma," Grace said softly. "And with your animals. And even with me." She paused. "You let people in, even when you think you don't." Something warm stirred in him, something long buried. From that moment on, something shifted. Their conversations grew longer, their silences more comfortable. Grace laughed more. Daniel smiled more. Emma, of course, noticed everything. Kids always do. One evening, while the three of them decorated the Christmas tree, Emma whispered to her dad, "See? She looks at you again." But this time Daniel didn't shy away. He met Grace's eyes across the room, and for the first time, she didn't look away. Months passed, and winter softened into spring. Daniel finally found the courage to speak his heart. It happened on the porch at sunset, the sky painted pink and gold. "Grace," he said, voice rough with emotion, "you came into our lives when everything felt impossible. You gave Emma joy again. And you gave me something I thought I'd lost forever, hope." Grace's eyes filled with tears. "You and Emma gave me a home," she whispered. And just like that, kindness, simple, quiet, consistent kindness, brought three broken hearts together. Love didn't return all at once. It arrived slowly, like the thaw after a long winter. But it came. And with it came healing. At the end of the day, kindness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a stare that's really care, a warm meal waiting on a cold night, a steady hand guiding a hurting family back into the light. If this story touched your heart, remember this: kindness has the power to rebuild what grief tries to destroy. It can bring people together when life feels scattered. And sometimes, kindness leads us to the love we never expected to find again.